I used to think the most dangerous day in a marriage was the day after the honeymoon. Not because anything goes wrong. Actually, that's exactly why. Because everything feels too good, too perfect. That's when your brain, your instincts, your guts all take a vacation. You forget to keep your eyes open. You start believing you're the lucky exception to every horror story your friends whispered over beers or during those quiet hallway conversations at work. That was me, Charles Denman. 42, mortgage paid in full, no kids, no drama, no debt. Just me, Lisa, and our painfully average golden retriever life in suburban Ohio. I married Lisa 6 years ago in the backyard of her father's lake house. She walked barefoot down an aisle of rose petals while some local guitarist with an ironic mustache played "Can't Help Falling in Love" on an acoustic. Everyone cried, including me. Back then, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Lisa Harrow, now Denman, was the kind of woman who seemed tailor-made for Christmas cards. Dimples, soft laugh, could make store-bought cookie dough feel like a family recipe. She was the first person I ever met who made Target runs feel like date nights. You know that kind of woman who texts you pictures of throw pillows and somehow makes it feel romantic? Yeah, that's Lisa. Or it was. I should have known better. I should have known from the way she turned arguments into therapy sessions, always asking me how I felt before telling me what she wanted. I thought it was emotional maturity. Turns out it was rehearsal. She wasn't resolving anything, just putting everything on hold so she could keep the play running. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say I was a perfect husband. No one is. I worked long hours. I sometimes left laundry in the dryer for 3 days, and I absolutely forgot her birthday in year 2. I'll own that one. But I loved her. And more than that, I liked her, which is more dangerous. Because when you like someone, you start to overlook things. Like how she started volunteering at that nonprofit downtown where no one ever seemed to have a name. Or how her phone went from always somewhere in the kitchen to surgically attached to her hand. Or how her wardrobe changed, subtly at first, like a new blouse here, some stylish flats there, until one day she was dressing like someone who expected to be seen. Not by me. She'd always been a minimalist, a clean countertop kind of woman. But then the house started collecting oddities, a ceramic bird on the mantle, some $14 sage bundle from an artisan market, a book on unblocking feminine energy. I used to joke she was one TED Talk away from selling crystals online. She laughed, said I was just old-fashioned. Maybe I am. But I noticed. I noticed when she stopped laughing at my jokes. When our dinners became microwave silences. When we stopped fighting, not because we fixed anything, but because she stopped caring enough to be annoyed. I should have said something. Should have brought it up during one of our fake deep Saturday night wine chats. But the truth is, I didn't want the answer. Instead, I distracted myself with home projects I never finished. Fixed things that weren't broken. Painted walls that didn't need paint. Anything to keep from asking the question I already knew the answer to. That's the worst part. Not the betrayal. Not yet. The worst part is the limbo. The part where you're still pretending it's salvageable, like some sitcom husband holding duct tape over a collapsed ceiling. A few months ago, Lisa started coming home late on Thursdays. Always with a perfectly reasonable excuse. Board meetings, team dinners, a friend going through a breakup. One time, she even said she helped someone move. At 9:45 p.m. on a Thursday, in heels. But I didn't ask questions. I nodded. Said things like, "You're such a good friend." That's how deep I was in it. Then came the story about her old college friend, Madison, coming into town. Madison was recently divorced and staying with us for the weekend. She was charming, a little too polished for someone who claimed she was just decompressing. But hey, I smiled. I grilled steaks. I watched my wife and her old friend sit on our patio, sipping white wine and laughing at nothing. Madison left on a Sunday afternoon. Lisa looked lighter, relaxed. That night, I tried to kiss her. Not in a creepy way, just a gentle, soft kiss, the kind that used to come naturally. She pulled away and smiled that, "I'm not rejecting you. I'm just tired" smile. That smile's a weapon, by the way. I laid awake that night staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe, and I finally asked myself the question. Not out loud, just mentally, quietly. Because even inside my own head, I was scared to hear the answer. Was she cheating? And more importantly, how would I ever know? She was too smart for the usual stuff. No perfume on collars, no lipstick smudges, no suspicious receipts. She didn't act guilty. She acted busy. I needed to be smarter. I needed to pay attention. And that's when I started a journal. Yeah, a literal notebook. Black cover. Pen clipped to the spine. I wrote down every time she left the house, every excuse she gave, every odd detail. Not because I planned to do anything with it, but because something in me said I needed to build a case. And over time, I started seeing it. Patterns. Repeated names, same meeting places, Thursday nights like clockwork. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was math. I still didn't confront her. Not yet. Not until I knew for sure. Not until I had something that couldn't be explained away with a sigh and a Charles, you're being paranoid. Then something happened. Something weird. Something no one would think of. That's when I got my answer. And once I had it, there was no going back. The day I found out Lisa was cheating started like every other Thursday. Dry toast, 2 sips of burnt coffee, and Lisa in her Thursday meeting blouse. It was cream-colored with little pearl buttons and made her look like the VP of a lifestyle brand. I complimented her out of habit. She smiled like she used to. It was almost impressive. That's the thing about liars. The good ones don't flinch. She left the house at 7:58 a.m. I noted it. I didn't go to work. I had planned a sick day, except I wasn't sick, just suspicious. And by now, I was running out of logical excuses to keep denying what I was seeing. Something had changed. Not just in her routines or clothes or the way she responded to texts 3 hours late. It was deeper, like she wasn't in the room anymore. Not when she was home. She wasn't here. Around 11:15, I walked past the guest room and paused. We rarely used it. It had become one of those rooms that looks like it belongs in a catalog. Perfect bedding, perfectly staged throw pillows, an untouched Weekend Getaways book on the nightstand. But there was a faint smell in there. Not cologne, not perfume. Something more sterile. Like a hotel lobby. Out of nowhere, something clicked. The week before, I had come home early from a hardware run, trying to fix the same cabinet I never finished fixing, and saw Lisa standing in the driveway talking to a guy in a gray sedan. She said it was a delivery mix-up. He looked like a guy who didn't deliver anything. Too clean. I asked no questions. Until now. So I checked the Wi-Fi router. Not her phone. Not her computer. The router. That's the trick. People forget that routers keep logs. They don't care about privacy or good manners. They just record every MAC address that's ever connected. It's not hot or cinematic, but it's precise. And guess what I found? A device had connected to our network multiple times over the last month. An iPhone, not registered to me or Lisa. Each connection lasted a few hours, usually between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. The dates? You guessed it, Thursdays. I screenshotted the logs and printed them out at the office supply store down the road. I needed paper in hand. Something physical. I was tired of doubting myself. That would have been enough to stir the pot. But then the universe, bless its sick sense of humor, threw me a curveball. When I came back from the store, I noticed the mailbox was open. Not just ajar, like it had popped open from the wind. I walked over to shut it and saw something peeking out from beneath the weekly coupon spam, a hand-addressed envelope. No return address. Inside, a thank you card. One of those generic drugstore types with gold embossed lettering. It read, "Appreciate you always finding the time. D." That was it. I stood in the driveway, staring at that card like it was a crime scene. D? I ran upstairs to the home office and pulled up Lisa's laptop. I knew her password. Still the same as it was when we met. Bellaluna 13. Something about a childhood pet and her favorite number. She thought it was uncrackable. The browser was clean. Suspiciously so. No history, no auto-filled forms. But she'd left one thing behind. A folder on her desktop titled Resumes. Inside were 7 documents. All identical resumes, except each one was renamed for a different version of her name. Lisa H. L. Denman, L. Harrow, etc. All saved around the same date, 6 weeks ago. She was applying for jobs. New jobs. In cities that weren't ours. That's when it stopped being a theory. That's when it became real. I shut the laptop and sat down on the edge of the guest bed. And then, like some karmic cherry on top, I heard it. A calendar alert from her iPad in the nightstand. She always kept it in there. She said she only used it to read before bed. The alert. D. 6 p.m. at workshop, bring printouts. Workshop? What kind of workshop meets at 6 p.m. on a Thursday? I Googled the place. It was real. A co-working studio space downtown with exposed brick and $9 kombucha. They hosted pop-up classes, networking events, and all that other social vomit people pretend to enjoy. I called the front desk and asked if there was a seminar tonight. "Oh yes," the guy said. "We've got a recurring Thursday night creative writing salon. Private group. Members only." My stomach turned. Lisa hadn't written creatively since college. I know. I'd asked her once what happened to all her old stories. She said she outgrew them. Apparently not. I didn't go down there. Not that night. I didn't want a scene. Not yet. Instead, I drove to the coffee shop across the street from the workshop, parked, and waited. At 5:52, a gray sedan pulled up. Same guy from our driveway. Out stepped Mr. Generic Handsome. He wore a blazer with jeans, the official uniform of men who ruin marriages with confidence. He walked inside. At 6:03, Lisa arrived. She parked 2 spaces behind him, didn't even check her mirrors. She was wearing the same cream blouse. Hair up. That same lipstick she never wore for me anymore. They didn't kiss. They didn't touch. They just entered the building minutes apart like strangers in a spy movie. I sat in that car for over an hour, thinking about how quiet betrayal is. How it doesn't need fireworks or drama. Sometimes it walks calmly into a rented space with exposed pipes and reclaimed wood tables. Sometimes it carries printouts. I drove home, poured a drink, and stared at the calendar alert again. Bring printouts. She was presenting something. Sharing something. I didn't need to know what. I already knew enough. But I wanted more than proof. I wanted clarity. I wanted to see it through her eyes, whatever this was. So the next morning, I did what any normal person would do. I used her iPad's Notes app, synced to the cloud, and pulled up everything she'd been working on. What I found wasn't a journal. It wasn't even writing exercises. It was a short story, a piece of fiction, titled, "The Wife Who Outgrew Her Marriage." I read every word, and somewhere between the clunky metaphors and overwritten scenes, I found him. Not by name, but by detail. The way his voice didn't ask for attention but always got it. The way he made her feel seen. The way he spoke in complete thoughts, unlike her husband who still talked in to-do lists. I was a character in her story, not even the main one. Just the obstacle. The exposition. That was the moment it all clicked. She wasn't just cheating physically. She'd already left me emotionally. This guy, this D, wasn't some affair. He was her co-author, her rewrite. And suddenly, I didn't want to confront her. Not yet. I wanted to edit the ending. Friday morning came with birds chirping, toast burning, and Lisa humming a Fleetwood Mac song she hadn't played in years. A deep cut, too, not one of the hits. Something about never going back again. The irony wasn't lost on me. She made coffee, used almond milk instead of creamer, said she was trying something new. I nodded, said I'd be home late. She didn't ask why, just kissed my cheek, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel a thing. It's strange how once the curtains pulled back, even the smallest habits feel staged. Like watching an actor flub their lines in a play you've seen a dozen times. Everything becomes props. Dialogue. Blocking. She left for work at 8:05. That gave me an hour. I called in a favor from someone I never thought I'd need. My old college roommate, Trent. A freelance graphic designer turned digital sleuth who now made most of his money reverse engineering metadata for brands. Or lawsuits. Depending on the day. Trent owed me for bailing him out back in 2008. Long story. Involves a karaoke machine and a landlord's wife. Point is, he answered on the second ring. I need to identify someone through a MAC address, I said. There was silence. Then a sharp inhale. Jesus, Charles. What did she do? Just tell me if you can do it. Depends. You got logs. I sent him the router screenshots, plus a photo of the guy's car, the one I took from my stakeout across the street. Trent's not NSA, but he's disturbingly good at connecting digital breadcrumbs. 2 hours later, he texted, David Silvers, 39, marketing consultant, divorced, lives in Westerville, works remote 3x/week, teaches creative writing Thursday nights at that co-working space, drives a 2018 Camry, real original. I stared at the message. David Silvers. She had a name for him in her writing. D, of course. And now I had his. I didn't lose it. I didn't scream or throw anything. I did what any decent man does when he knows the game has changed. I printed out his LinkedIn profile, stapled it to the story she wrote, highlighted the passages that described him in nauseating detail. I clipped it all into a manila folder and tucked it into my glove compartment. I had a plan. Saturday morning, I made brunch. Real brunch. Eggs, turkey sausage, fruit, the works. Lisa looked surprised. Said I was being sweet. I smiled. Said I wanted to reconnect. She lit up like it was 2017 again. I suggested we go away for a weekend. Just the two of us. She hesitated. Said she had commitments. I asked what kind. She said a board meeting. I asked which board. She blinked. The nonprofit board, she said. The one that dissolved last year? Silence. I meant the new one I joined. You don't know them, right? The invisible board. They must be very exclusive. She gave a nervous laugh. The kind you give when the room starts to feel colder than it should. Lisa, I said quietly, what's David like? The fork dropped. Her face didn't change. That was the impressive part. She didn't gasp, didn't cry. Just tilted her head, calculated the odds, and decided to stall. David who? David Silvers. Your co-author. Your Thursday night friend. She looked away, like she was choosing which version of the lie she wanted to commit to. I didn't let her choose. I opened my laptop, showed her the file from her iPad notes. Her story, titled The Wife Who Outgrew Her Marriage. Highlighted. Annotated. With David's LinkedIn photo next to the paragraph that described a man who listens with the kind of attention you can feel in your ribs. She went pale. You were never going to tell me, I said. It's just writing, she muttered. Then why does the main character share your job, your haircut, and your exact lipstick color? Silence. I leaned back. Waited. And finally, she cracked. I didn't plan it, she said. It just happened. He was part of the workshop, and then it turned into a character study? A connection. I nodded. Right. A connection. Those happen. Like Wi-Fi. Charles, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Oh, don't worry. You didn't go far at all. He came here. To our house. Logged onto our Wi-Fi. Nice of you to share the password. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I'm not mad. I continued. I'm actually impressed. You hit it well. But you forgot one thing, Lisa. What? I know you. She looked down. I didn't want to hurt you. Then you shouldn't have written fiction with footnotes. I stood up, picked up the manila folder, and dropped it in front of her. That's your story. His photo. Your timestamps. My dignity. All neatly packaged. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't moved. Not anymore. I'm not asking you to explain it, I said. I already understand it. You wanted a new chapter, but you didn't want to close the old book. You wanted to write about freedom while sleeping in a monogrammed marriage bed. She covered her face. Said nothing. I walked to the door. Where are you going? She asked through her hands. To rewrite the ending. People think revenge has to be dramatic. A confrontation in the rain. A packed suitcase thrown from a second-story window. Someone screaming on a lawn. Nah. Revenge, real revenge, is quiet. It's slow. It's meticulous. It's walking into a room with your heart switched off and your brain doing all the talking. I spent Sunday nights sleeping in the guest room, the same one her character probably imagined trysts in. She knocked once around 10 p.m., then gave up. I lay in bed with a legal pad, outlining everything I knew, everything I had, and what she'd never see coming. By Monday morning, I had a plan. I started small. Phase 1, isolation. Not her. Me. I stopped engaging. No morning, good luck with your day texts. No dinner check-ins. When she asked if I'd be home for dinner, I said, probably. No expression. No tone. It unsettled her. People like Lisa can handle yelling. They're prepared for confrontation. What they can't handle is indifference. Silence from someone who used to hang on their every word. Next was phase 2, the move. Not a physical one. A tactical one. See, Lisa and I share a joint account, but we also have a household budget spreadsheet in Google Sheets. Her idea, years ago. She liked accountability. That sheet tracks everything. Groceries, utilities, savings, car payments, even subscriptions. So I made a copy, removed her access, adjusted all the category labels. Mortgage became dead weight. Groceries became sustenance while living a lie. Streaming services became ways she escaped. Then I added a new line item. Exit strategy, $15,000. She wouldn't see it, but I would. I started funneling small transfers from our joint checking to a private account I'd opened that morning. $500 here, $300 there. Enough to fly under her radar. Enough to build my runway. Phase 3 was more public. I showed up at her Thursday night workshop. Not inside. I just parked across the street again, Same spot as last time. I brought takeout and ate it in the car like it was a Netflix special. At 6:12 p.m., David Silvers strolled in with that smug, I sip pour over coffee and call it art expression. At 6:17, Lisa followed, wearing the navy dress she hadn't worn in 2 years. Said it made her look too obvious. Guess she changed her mind. I didn't need to go in. Didn't need a scene. I just waited until they were both inside, took a photo of the building with their cars in frame, and drove home. Then I uploaded the photo to our shared Google Photos folder labeled Vacation Memories. Just slid it right in between Maui and Michigan. She didn't say a word, but I saw her look at it. She didn't know I was watching. It's amazing how quickly a person changes when they realize you're not playing defense anymore. Phase 4. Social proof. I started casually talking to a few of our mutual friends. Nothing direct. Just little things. Hey, has Lisa mentioned that creative writing group she joined? She's really close with the instructor. Real tight. Then I'd change the subject. Always leave it there. Unfinished. One by one, they started piecing it together. The Thursday absences. The new outfits. The vague answers. One friend, Claire, who had known Lisa since college, called me after brunch with her. She's different, Claire said. Like she's trying to convince herself she's not guilty. I said nothing. Just sighed and said, we all change. Then came phase 5, the letter. No, not to her. To David. I mailed it to his house. Plain envelope. Typewritten and signed, no return address. It read, David, you probably think you're the romantic lead, the rescuer. But let me tell you something. She's writing stories about you now. Eventually, she'll be writing stories about the next one, too. That's what people like her do. They outgrow. By the way, the Wi-Fi you've been using? Logged. Saved. Matched. Maybe keep your device off next time you trespass. See you at the next reading. He never responded. But the next Thursday, Lisa didn't go to the workshop. That weekend, she said she was reassessing some things. I told her I supported that. I said it with the same voice you use when telling someone to get well soon after they sneeze. Phase 6, the reveal. I waited until a Tuesday morning, a nothing kind of day. I cooked breakfast, her favorite. Real eggs. Real bacon. Real orange juice. She sat down, cautious, probably hoping this was the beginning of a fresh start. She made a soft comment about how things have felt lighter lately. I smiled. I'm glad. Then I handed her a box. Inside, a copy of her short story, marked up with editing notes like a publisher. A photo of her and David's cars at the workshop. A printout of the guest Wi-Fi logs. A thumb drive labeled backups. A note that simply said, this isn't a threat. It's a receipt. She stared at it like it was a live grenade. I don't understand, she whispered. You don't have to, I said. You just have to accept it. She asked what it meant. I told her I'd already met with a lawyer. That she'd be receiving a separation agreement soon. That the house would be mine, the joint account would be frozen, and she'd be given a very fair, very clean exit. She started to cry. Not big sobs. Little tears. The kind you try to blink away when you realize your chess game is over and the board's been flipped without a sound. You planned all this, she said. Of course I did, I replied. You didn't think I'd just stand here and wait for Act 3, did you? She looked like she wanted to scream. But there was nothing left to say. No denials. No gaslighting. Just silence. And me? I picked up my plate, poured myself more coffee, and walked into the next room. Like it was just another Tuesday. Because for me it was. But for her? It was the day her story stopped being fiction and started becoming history. Mine. There's a certain kind of silence that settles over a house after a decision's been made. It's not peaceful. It's surgical. Like someone's turned off the electricity to your memories. The photos on the walls feel fake. The furniture looks borrowed. Even the dog keeps his distance, like he knows the energy in the room isn't meant for him. Lisa hadn't said a word since I handed her the box. It sat on the kitchen table like a bomb no one wanted to touch. Every so often, she'd glance at it like it might vanish if she ignored it long enough. It didn't. For 3 days, she tiptoed around me. Like a roommate, not a wife. She kept her voice quiet, her movements slow, her conversations reduced to basic exchanges. We're out of almond milk. Okay. There's a leak under the bathroom sink. Charles, can we talk? There it was. Thursday evening. The same day of the week she used to vanish. Now, she couldn't leave fast enough. I looked up from the mail. About what? You know what. I nodded, dropped the envelopes on the table, and gestured to the couch. All right. She sat across from me, back straight, hands folded, like she was about to defend a thesis on betrayal. I waited. I didn't think you'd handle it this way, she said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. You thought I'd yell? No. She paused. I guess I thought I'd be able to explain. That's the problem, Lisa. You think everything needs an explanation, doesn't it? No. Sometimes it just needs to end. She swallowed, looked down at her hands like they were going to feed her the right words. I never meant for any of this to happen, she said. David was someone who made you feel seen. I read the story. You said that phrase twice. She blinked. That was fiction. No, it wasn't. You just didn't think I'd find it. She looked away. I need you to understand, she said. No, you don't. Charles, you don't need to explain the mechanics of cheating to the man you cheated on. I get it. You got bored. I got predictable. He said something interesting over a coffee, and suddenly your soul had depth again. That's not fair. It's not supposed to be. Her eyes welled. Not crocodile tears. Real ones, I think. But I didn't care anymore. This wasn't just about him, she said. It was about me. Oh, I know. It's always about you. I felt like I was disappearing. And so your solution was to disappear with someone else. She shook her head. You don't understand. No, I do. You wanted to hit the reset button on your life without doing the hard part. Without admitting you were unhappy. Without owning the fact that you chose me, and then decided you made the wrong choice. Her breath caught in her throat. I tried, she whispered. For years, I tried. And I didn't. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She stood up, started pacing. I felt like I was shrinking in this house, she said. Everything became routine. Everything was expected. There was no space for surprise. Marriage isn't a theme park, Lisa. I know that. No, I don't think you do. You wrote about wanting adventure, connection, feeling alive again. But when did I ever stop you from chasing those things? I supported every half-baked wellness phase, every career pivot, every group trip you suddenly needed. I even painted the office sage green because you said it was good for your creative aura. That was a dumb color, she muttered. I know. I hate it every time I look at it. She smiled. Barely. Like we were still in this together. We weren't. I'm sorry, she said. For everything. For David. For the lies. Do you regret it? She didn't answer right away. Yes, she finally said. I believed her. Which made it worse. Are you still seeing him? I asked. No. I ended it. Because you got caught. Because I realized he wasn't the answer. You know what's funny? I asked. You kept chasing this version of yourself. The one who writes. The one who outgrows things. But you never stopped to ask what growing actually looks like. She sat back down, this time on the edge of the couch. I didn't want to lose you, she said. Then why'd you start writing our ending before I even knew we had a plot? Silence. She wiped her eyes. Is there anything left to save? That was the question. The one she'd been circling for days. I took a deep breath. Looked around the room. The framed wedding photo still sat on the shelf. I'd left it there on purpose. Not because I still cherished it, but because I wanted her to have to look at it, too. No, I said. She nodded like she expected it. Maybe even wanted it. I'll move out by the end of the week, she said. You'll move out by Saturday. Okay. And don't take the dog. She half laughed. I figured. We sat there in silence for a long time. Two people surrounded by the remains of a life we built together. Furniture chosen together. Art picked out on a rainy Saturday in Asheville. A couch that once hosted movie nights, now hosting our final conversation. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Was it always going to be this way? Were we always just delaying the inevitable? I thought about it. Really thought. No, I said. We had a good thing. A real thing. But then you blinked and decided you deserved something shinier. And the worst part is, you didn't even give me a chance to fight for it. You'd already made up your mind. You just stuck around long enough to write a polite ending. She looked away. I never stopped loving you, she said. That's not the same as staying loyal. No. She stood up, wiped her palms on her jeans. I'll start packing tomorrow. I nodded. She walked to the door. Paused. Do you hate me? I looked at her for a long time. No, I said. I just don't know you anymore. She gave the slightest nod and walked out. The door clicked shut. And just like that, the house felt honest again. Not better. Not whole. But honest. And that was a start. Subscribe to the channel